What's up guys, Mike here with Morrison's Outdoor Adventures. So today we're going to kick off our mechanic series on YouTube by teaching you guys how to change your oil. So our 2019 Ram 2500 diesel is in desperate need of an oil change. So we're at our next service interval. So we're going to go through that process and kind of show you guys the ins and outs of changing your oil. This is a great way if you are looking to get into doing some mechanic work on your own rig. This is a great way to get into it because it's, number one, relatively budget entry as far as tools. So it doesn't require a ton of tools, as well as relatively easy as far as skill level. So without talking too much more, let's jump right into it. Alright guys, these are some of the tools we're going to use today. Again, nothing really specialized. There is a couple of little things that make life easier. But you can see we've got our Rotella oil there. Again, it's just a standard oil for diesels. We've got our 10W30, which is what our truck calls for in our conditions. We've got our oil filter, and a lot of times your truck's going to come with a factory oil filter, and it's going to have a part number on it. Now I've got a different one, a CarQuest Premium. Still a very good oil filter, but I just cross-referenced the part numbers to get the part I needed. Those right there are fuel filters, but that's not necessarily for what we're talking about today. I've got just some basic ratchets right here that I'm going to use. For our truck, we don't need any sockets to remove our drain plug. I've got some gloves, our oil drain pan. I've got our oil filter wrench, a funnel. I've got channel locks in case our oil filter is a little hard to get off. And then I've got this guy right here, which is a plug for the oil filter, so I can put that on to pull the oil filter out so oil doesn't spill everywhere. So again, very basic tools, and a creeper, because we are not going to be working on a lift, so we're going to be going right underneath the truck, just like you guys would in your driveway. So let's move on, and we will start looking underneath the hood of the truck. Alright guys, so first step in changing your oil, pop your hood, get underneath the hood, go ahead and remove your oil filter cap, okay? That way we don't create a vacuum and it lets all that oil kind of get out of there. Now I've gone ahead and already warmed up the truck, but we do want to change the oil with the oil warm. We do want to change the oil when it's warm, right? If it's cool or even just kind of at room temperature, then it's going to be real slow coming out. We may not get it all out. So we want to make sure that we're going to get it all out. Now I'm going to take this right here, set it right next to my engine oil dipstick, because I know it kind of wedges underneath there and I know it'll stay there until I'm ready to come back in. If you do have a lot of dirt around this, make sure that you wipe and clean that dirt off as much as possible so we don't get a bunch of it in. I know some of you like to go through mud and all that kind of stuff, so just make sure you clean that off before you take your oil cap off, and before you go to put your oil cap back on, we're going to clean that up. So now let's move down underneath the vehicle. Alright guys, so I've got underneath here now, my drain plug just is a 3/8 ratchet, so it just goes in and clips in place for me to loosen it. I've got my oil container under here because we don't just want to dump oil on the ground. Make sure you remove the plug for the drain. Make sure all the other exits are blocked off. But now we can start backing out. Once it gets loose enough, go ahead and start using your fingers. I'll normally keep tension against it with the finger like this while I'm spinning it until I feel it get to the end of the threads. And once it gets to the end of the threads, remember this is going to be hot now, so I want to get it out of the way without dropping it. Oh! And not let it splash all over me. But we're going to have all of the oil draining out here. Now, depending on your vehicle, this could take a while, but you can see it runs out pretty clean, pretty quick. Now again, this is a diesel, so the oil is going to be black and it's going to look terribly nasty. Yours may look cleaner than this, depends on your vehicle. But all diesels, as soon as you put oil in them and run them one time, the oil turns nice and black. Now, I'm not going to put my drain plug back in yet. I'm going to go ahead and let this stream really run until we get all of it out, okay? So I've got to leave this oil pan right here for the time being. until I am ready to put that drain plug back in. All right, so our oil's done draining out here, so now we're gonna put our drain plug back in, okay? Now, super important here, some drain plugs out there have replacement washers and stuff like that that you may have to put back in place. Some of the Toyotas and things like that may have a specific little crush washer or something. But most importantly, when you go to tighten this back in, do not over tighten it, right? It just needs to be snug. Okay, you don't want to try to romp on it because you'll stretch those threads and you could do damage to them. So we just want to make it snug. So for this particular truck, they call for 30 foot-pounds of torque here. So when I'm done, I'll probably check it with a torque wrench just to make sure. Now, one thing I do typically recommend doing is cleaning off around your drain plug right here, so you can wipe it down with a rag, and then when you are finished, just take a little bit of brake clean and spray it down to get any residual oil off. That way, if you do have a leak, you know, it'll be easy to see because it'll look new. That way, you won't have this on there, and it'll be a little bit before you can tell a new leak. Now, it's not time to come out from underneath here yet. What you want to do is now you want to move your drain pan underneath of your oil filter. Now, a lot of newer vehicles have different little channels so that when you pull your oil filter out, the oil will actually run down out that channel and then drop right into your pan. So make sure you understand where that channel is if you have a newer vehicle, or if you don't have one vehicle like that, just make sure you get this down underneath of your your oil filter, because once we pull that oil filter, some oil is going to come out of the engine where the intake and outlet for the oil filter are. All right, so now we're going to get our oil filter out, so you can see our oil filter underneath here. So it's back right in there, if I can do it without getting a shadow. So I've got to reach back in there and get it out. So not a lot of room under here, so I'm not going to be able to film it while I'm doing that, but maybe Sarah can catch me while I'm outside the truck doing it. All right, so we're backing the oil filter off, and once it comes loose, on this truck, we just drop it down, a little bit will drain out, but I'm going to take my little oil filter plug tool here and reach in there and thread it into the top of my oil filter until it's snug. So now, when I pull my oil filter out, everything won't dump out of it. So now we can keep it all in there, and when we turn it upside down, all the oil will come out into our drain pan. All right, so we've got our new oil filter to go on. So most of your oil filters, if you've got the standard old style like this, not the cartridge type that most of like your new Toyotas and stuff use, it's gonna have a rubber O-ring right here. Okay, in the canister style. And before you install it, you need to take a little bit of your fresh oil, okay, and rub it around the O-ring. So I'll get a little bit of new oil, and then I just run it around right there, okay, until it's good. Now, this is the fun part because you can't see what you're doing and you have to get it threaded back on there. All right, so we've got our new oil filter in there. As far as tightening them, if you're doing the canister style like this, not the cartridge type, follow the manufacturer recommended specifications. Or if they don't, then you just want to get it tight as you can. Normally with your hands, you don't want to use a tool to tighten it. Some vehicles may call for a tool or something like that, but don't try to grip down on it with a pair of pliers or something like that. But we do want to make sure that it's tight enough that it's not going to back off or start to leak or anything like that. So for this truck, because you can't really access it here from the bottom to get anything on it, normally I can get it for the most part, as tight as it needs to be by hand. Now, we're gonna go up and it's time to add oil to the truck. All right, so we're ready to add oil. So I've got my filter ready to go. Normally what I will do is I'll go ahead and add right up to the amount of oil and just underneath the amount of oil that the vehicle calls for. That way I don't overfill it. I can always add a little bit. It's a lot harder to take some out. And then I will let the truck sit for just a minute and I will check the oil. Sometimes you will need to fire it up and let the oil circulate, so you fill up that oil filter, because it's going to pull some oil out of that drain pan or oil pan. Get all of it out there. And if it's a cold time of year, put this in the floorboard of the truck while you're warming it up. Let the heat run on it so that'll run out nice and smooth. But since it's summer here, we don't have to worry about that. All right guys, so we finished our oil change. Last thing to do is to check our oil. So the end of your dipstick may look a little bit different than this, but what we're looking for when we check the oil, first we're going to crank the truck up, let it run for just a minute, okay? Then we're going to shut it down and let it sit for about 30 minutes. And then we're going to pull the dipstick, wipe it clean, stick it back in, and pull it out again to check our oil level. What we're looking for is that we're up towards this top mark here, okay? In between here is a safe zone, okay? So if your car burns a little oil or something, as long as it's in between these two marks, then it's considered in the safe zone. But we're looking to be at this upper mark right after a fresh oil change. Now, if it happens to be down around this bottom mark, normally, not always, but normally, this means that you are about a quart low if you're down here. If you're all the way off the dipstick, then obviously you're more than that. And we definitely don't want it to be above this mark, right? It's just as bad to put too much oil in it as it is not enough. So keep that in mind, but that's what we would be looking for when we check our oil. All right guys, so we've got the oil changed in our Ram. I'm gonna continue on. I gotta do the fuel filters, but that's a quick kind of down and dirty to change your oil. You can see I got a bunch on me there because Sarah spilled a bunch of oil on me while I was working under the truck. She was throwing oil at me, all kinds of stuff. Just joking. Some of it splashed on me when it came out. But now the big question is, if you're doing this in your driveway or your garage at home, what do you do with this oil? You don't want to just, time and time again, just have jugs of oil. So you saw the big drain pan we had. You can drain that back into the containers that your new oil came in, and typically your local auto parts stores will accept a certain amount of oil, right? Normally like an Advanced Auto or AutoZone or something like that, you can take, I think, if I remember right, it used to be up to 4 gallons a day, or check out one of your local auto repair shops or something like that and see if they have an oil storage facility. Toss them a couple of bucks to be able to take your oil and put it in there. Maybe you know somebody that has a shop that they heat with old used motor oil. But that's what you're gonna do with it once you're done. Don't just leave it sitting outside, that type of thing. But outside of that, run your truck for a little bit. Always make sure to double check, make sure that your oil is good. It's a good general rule of thumb, at least every 500 miles or so, or 1,000 miles or so, to go ahead and check your oil. Pull that dipstick, or if your truck sat for a while, pull that dipstick and check the oil. Especially now that we have vehicles that are going 10,000 miles in between oil changes. So we really want to make sure we're staying on top of that, especially when they start getting a little bit of mileage on them. 100,000 miles, 200,000 miles, trucks can tend to use a little bit of oil. But hopefully this helped you guys out, and definitely if you like this video, make sure that you give us a like, share, hit that thumbs up button, and let everybody know about us. Or if there's anything you'd like to add, throw it down in the comments and we'll do our best to respond back to you. But thanks guys, and hopefully we'll see you out on the trails and find some adventure.